And good day, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, we were just right in the middle of about ready to start. I had the timer rolling, and I was really proud of myself that I set this all up in 10 minutes since we just obviously got off Zoom University. That is lovely. We have started the wonders of online school for a second go. So I've been on this computer already since about 7:45 Central Standard Time this morning, and we're back for some more. My apologies for the technical difficulties. Let's get right into it. We have a lot to get into. This is planned to be the second to last, or no, the third to last episode of the series. Should be quite interesting. One quick update here on the legal stuff, because I know that's the boring stuff, which is why I start with it. It is that the federal judge in this case has set a Zoom teleconference for the 3rd of September to kind of sort things out, figure out which party deserves a trial by jury. Until then, I don't expect much to happen in the case until the telecommunication gets sorted out. But we shall see. Um, In the meantime, we just sit and wait, and as they say in Vegas, sit back, relax, and just enjoy the show. And that's kind of what I've been doing from here on out. And for these last 3 episodes, as you know, usually for me, it's very, very chaotic, and I just kind of ramble and say whatever I want, but I want to kind of touch on what everything kind of looks like. Why I think wrestling is struggling, and I think this is kind of going to be a 3-part series on my solutions. I'm currently working on an op-ed where I'll put this out in writing, and I'm sure it'll get distributed by my main man, Pat Minio. Like, I swear, I don't pay him to retweet any of my stuff. It's like, oh, you have another retweet from Pat Minio, and it's awesome. I love Pat. He's amazing. I'll talk about how some other sports have been kind of able to market themselves properly. Properly, especially over the past couple of years, and how I think that wrestling can kind of learn from that. Today's topic is kind of how let's be honest, the rest of college sports, at least in pre-COVID, right? I want everybody to look at this through a pre-COVID lens, right? Because I don't want the number one pressing issue to be, oh, wrestling's not working because of COVID, wrestling's not working because of COVID. Because remember, 2013, the IOC voted that, wrestling's done. FILA got taken down in 14, I think. I'm learning more and more about that more every day. I mean, that seems like a drama show that got out of hand very, very quickly. That was obviously replaced by United World Wrestling. So COVID has nothing to do with my overall point. Okay, we should stop the recording before it takes up all the space on my computer. I think that coronavirus is a small part of what has happened. So this evidence specifically tailors to things that happened before coronavirus. Now, these are the statistics. You'll see the 30 sports on your left-hand side, the columns. I've split them up between female and male. I have also, your B column here is going to be your number of programs in the 2006 to 2007 academic year, and your C column is going to be the number of teams from 18 to 19, which is the most recent data available. And then your D column is a simple statistic. I take these two numbers, divide the C column by the B column, times 100, then get the percent change over the 13 years. I'll tell you why this is the best metric, and I'll tell you why any other complicated underlying factors are basically bull. This is a very simple metric. There are, of course, flaws. I am well aware that there are now 351 programs, NCAA Division I programs. So the number of programs over this 13 years also has increased massively. I believe the number was somewhere in the 320s in 2006 to 7. Now we're at 351. So obviously there are things that are not considered. But ultimately what this statistic proves is how many schools want this program around, want this sport around. And that's all that matters, at least at the college level, right? We're not looking at money making. We're not trying to milk cows. We're trying to look at, is this sport sustainable at many colleges across the country? Because if you take a school like Harvard or some of the Ivy League schools that have massive endowment funds, even if their program is, let's say, hypothetically losing more money than, let's say, a mid-tier, they're going to be able to have the financial resources necessary to keep their program around. So we don't want to be looking at all the minutia and the details and not get sucked into what Jason Bryant very eloquently called on Twitter AD talk, right? We don't want to get sucked into that. All we want to look at here is, do colleges want to keep the program around? And we don't need to, and it doesn't really matter the reason why it's been cut. If your if your sport is being hurt or is not experiencing the growth that is necessary, we must look internally to change something. We cannot status quo think anymore. And this is the problem with the wrestling community. I'm just going to come out and say it. We're going to rip a band-aid off here. Okay, this is not me trying to come off as condescending in any way, and I know a lot of my work can look like that because I'm not a wrestler and it doesn't look like I know anything. But the status quo thinking of every single time that something goes wrong, we're gonna, say it's the AD's fault, it's the school's fault. Well, we've been doing that for 13 years. And the ADs have only retaliated by cutting wrestling more than any other sport. The percent change from 1819 to 0607 is the worst. And here's why this is particularly concerning, because this has nothing to do with the NCAA as a whole, but rather each individual university, which is the problem because this is the verdict that has been brought down by the majority of athletic directors across the country, is that the program is no longer worth having around, despite the fact that the rest of college athletics is doing remarkably well. Another argument is that wrestling has been kind of kicked to the curb because of Title X and the growth of women's sports, and that's entirely not true. You can see that, yes, women's sports is on the rise. 7 of the top 10 are women, but then you also have 3 sports that are definitely played by guys. Men's lacrosse, right? We have men's indoor track and field and outdoor track and field that's growing at a remarkable rate, over 10% change. It's really, 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 really good. Beach volleyball was kind of an outlier. They didn't have any programs until like 2011, so you have to have something to get them off the ground. It's remarkable that they've gotten 60 programs in like 8 years, which is lovely. But ignoring beach volleyball for a minute and just going off of, you have remarkable growth in lacrosse and track and field and even football, even though their numbers are already really high. You look at FCS football as a whole, that's 8.5%, an increase of 20 programs over the course of 10 years, which isn't bad. If you add have a net gain of average of 1 additional program over 13 years, that's not bad. Even though, like I said earlier at the beginning, the growth percentages are a little bit inflated here for every sport. And then the conversely is true, is that if the negative growth rate, if you look at wrestling, that's all the way down here on the sheet. I can't believe I had to scroll this far. Negative 14.77%. It um, it does not bode well, right? It does not bode well. This number is actually worse because in 2006, the number was 88 out of, let's say, 323, I want to say was the official number. I could be completely wrong. But I know the 2019 number is significantly higher, and now it's 75 out of 351. So the growth rate, the percentage of change, the actual percentage change, when you factor in the number of overall programs there are, is even that worse. So for the programs that are growing, their numbers are slightly inflated in a good way, I guess. I'm overstating their growth, and for the sports that are falling, we are understating their decline, and this is what is particularly concerning for wrestling. And me and Catherine Shine talked about this at length in our new interview that is now out on my page. Um, it talks about, she asked me a very good question, which it's not really an interview, it's more of a discussion. We kind of go back and forth and just kind of bounce ideas off of each other. Um, she asked me what did I not like about the experience of wrestling as a wrestler. I think the biggest problem with Flow is Flow treats coverage, and USA Wrestling as well, they're equally guilty. They treat coverage as an event, right? It's a bunch of little scattered events. We're going to cover senior nationals this weekend, right? And then once that's done, we wait until the next event. And in between, the social media is cluttered with junk and shit and old highlights and crap that no one cares about. Like, it is so random and so horrible. It just does not make sense to somebody who doesn't enjoy just a 5-second clip of a beautiful double leg takedown, which the casual lay fan is just kind of like, what? Who is this? Like, who is this? And it's like there is no lead up, right? If we look, all right, let's look. All right, let's find out together. Since I didn't have much preparation at all for this episode, y'all look on my you can have a quick look at my Instagram feed. Let's look together. All right, there's not that many events right now, right? And look at the random shit that's on their page. Like, okay, look, oh, here's a clip of Gable, right? Well, we're not going to see Gable for another, whenever the college season starts, 2-3 months. But we have a WG wrestling event, Underground. By the way, buy it, show it, scare the flippin' you know what about Flow Wrestling. Buy it, everybody watch it, hype it. There are great matches on that card. Tyler Berger's on that card, one of the people that got me into wrestling. I watched some of his matches, one of the earliest guys from Nebraska. Yes, yes, yes. Everybody go buy that card. Everybody watch that card. It's only $9.95. It's a one-time payment. It's a one-time payment. You are going to enjoy it. It's going to be proper. There's going to be no crashes. Nick Wisdowski just took a stab at them, which is going to be so much fun. But like, look, there's a random clip of Gable. Oh my God, I'm not going to remember this 2.5 months from now when Gable gets shown on Big Ten Network. Like, I'm not going to remember. That's a random post. It doesn't get you anything. Oh, yes. Hey, look, more plugging crap. Okay, great. Olympic trials still within 2 months. You have 2 months uh, from now. It's just, it's not, none of this is systematic. All of it is random. All of it is, I wake up, uh, what do I feel like posting today? Right? Whereas if you look at like, you'll get so sick of me making this comparison, and I will continue to make this comparison because you will not believe the growth. My favorite moment in that Catherine Shy interview is I started making the darts comparison, and I told this story about how in 1993 the players got sick of, not getting paid and drinking on stage, and nobody was happy, and everybody was mad at, the leaders, the BDO, and then they just went off and formed their PDC. And seriously, I told her, I was like, well, the prize fund for the World Championship this year, $3.27 million. And her face, the look on her face was like, darts, $3.27 million to throw an arrow at a wall, like to throw a pointy object at a wall in a tiny square. Like, it's not easy, right? No one said it's easy. And I love darts. I just got finished watching Thursday Night Premier League darts before I came on here, so I absolutely love darts. No disrespect to my favorite darts players, but like these people like literally kill each other and try to train hours and hours a day, and like there's no money in the sport. It's just the cash flow isn't there, and it's being hogged. And here's the problem: is the promotion. First of all, there's not a single event. Like if you just looked at Flow Wrestling, if that was your introduction to Flow Wrestling, you wouldn't even know that the event this week exists, and that's a problem that many other people have touched on, not just me. I'm not breaking any new ground here. But you wouldn't, first of all, one, you wouldn't even know that the event exists, and two, like, this is the most random crap ever. Plus, it also would help if you put in every episode, like every post, like, senior nationals is the 9th to 11th, because people scrolling through this wouldn't know that either. Like, you have to realize every single post could be the first post that somebody ever sees wrestling. In a sense, if you don't give context in every post, you're going to lose these people. When you just throw them a clip and just throw them a piece of bread for them to go get, and if they don't get intrigued by that, they're not going to look for it. These people aren't as crazy as me. Okay, I saw one clip of college wrestling on TV, and then I was immediately hooked. Okay, other people aren't as crazy as me. You guys haven't figured out I'm a complete lunatic. Okay? I'm a complete lunatic. Other people aren't going to spend, 14 hours on YouTube right after you finish watching your first college match trying to figure out what the heck's going on with wrestling. No. They're going to watch that clip and say, is it interesting? Is it not? And then move on. This is the problem. When you have a disorganized, chaotic mess over here, and plus, you can't even see college rankings. All right, let's do this. You've got to look at it through the lens of a complete idiot. If I had one of my friends come on here and do this, right? And say, okay, I want you to go on flowwrestling.org for the first, oh my God, I've never actually been on the website, right? Like, how, yes, pro, right, there's a scratch, right? If you know who the heck that is, I don't, I'm sorry. Pro. Like, all right, next, moving on. I'm gonna go watch, auctioneering. I don't know. And I want to kind of draw a stark contrast. Also, the crowd and fan engagement at wrestling events is completely awful. I'll tell you a story. I've spent only one, my whole life, I've only spent one pay-per-view event. It's called the Cougar Clash. Okay, it was the Cougar Clash last year. The weekend of CKLV, obviously I couldn't watch CKLV, or was it CKL? I get all those tournaments confused. It was something. It was a major tournament in the college season, and of course it was being covered by Flow. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go watch that. But there was so much hype around it, and at that time I probably finished texting, who was it, Tristan? Yeah, Tristan Moran, and I love that guy to death. He's like the most exciting wrestler I've seen in the past 5 years. Come fight me on that. Like, his battles with Mitch McKee, top notch. At least exciting to me that doesn't know what the heck is going on half the time. And I was like, I am going to watch Tristan this weekend. I don't care if it's only 3 matches, which it wasn't a big tournament. There were like 6 Division I programs there. Mizzou ran away with the team title. Then a dramatic final between also now one of my favorite wrestlers, Grant Leeds and Tristan Moran. I spent $19, $19.95, I remember it, and I watched it. I don't think a single person like went behind the camera or to like adjust the camera all day. Like, I was on the mat, I was watching pretty much all day while I was supposed to be debating, but don't tell anybody that. No one ever adjusted the camera. There was no commentary. The crowd seemed dead. Like, there were a decent amount of people there. Like, I think the thing was hosted at what? The SIUE Edwardsville, I think, was the host. There were a decent amount of people there, but it's like you go there, you wrestle, there's 2 mats, and you leave. Like, that's kind of what you expected, and of course wrestling should be the number one aspect there. But it's like, shouldn't there be a little bit more? Shouldn't they be looking for your fan experience? Like, isn't there something else that's kind of missing? And I'll draw your attention here. And like, this isn't even like, I'm not just picking on it, and I'm probably gonna get hate that's like, yeah, of course, like, that's a low-level event. But like, are you honestly gonna tell me that it's any better at like, I think it's not the US Open, but like US, what was that event in December, the end of last year? That was like the last major event before COVID shut everything down. People that know wrestling will know what I'm talking about. I have no idea because I'm clueless. But it was the event where, yeah. Anyway, I'm drawing a blank. It was hosted in Dallas or Fort Worth, or somewhere over there. And it wasn't much better. Like, there were a decent amount of people there, but like, it was just continuous coverage of the mats. And I only know this because I watched, the YouTube reruns after, I obviously couldn't watch it live. And just nothing, no fan engagement. People looked bored, to be honest. And if you're watching that for the first time, if you somehow get a bootleg Flow account and watch that for the first time, you're just kind of like, well, okay, great. In the meantime, contrast that to this. We'll watch this whole video together, and I'll go on my epic rant after, so stay tuned. Um, Sorry, I let that go on way too long. They must have played that snowman scene like 5 times. But anyway, this is the darts anthem, as they call it nowadays. Chase the Sun. Everybody at the darts arena knows it. Uh, let's switch back here. Um, yeah, and I think like I'm not before anybody in the wrestling community is like he wants the crowd to dress up like snowmen and like dance around and drink beer and like run around. No, but it's like we can come up with our own ideas, right? This is the thing that Darth has come up with, and obviously it's worked. Obviously, every single sport is different. I'm not asking for people to, make a fool of themselves. That like would not make any sense. But like there's thought into this, right? There's thought into kind of how these things work and how if the clips shown here, right, were all you know clips from the past 4 or 5 years, which is kind of when darts has really started to take it off and the prize fund has really massively increased. We need to come up with ideas to engage the fans. Like that song is played at every commercial break, choreographed. As soon as the last dart is thrown, that music starts, the crowd starts dancing, and you feel it. And you feel it. You feel it. And that's why Tiger Woods said it in an interview. If you don't believe me, you can Google Tiger Woods darts, it'll come up. Said in an interview recently that darts was one of his favorite sports to watch, especially when he was in Europe. And it took some convincing, but he got there. And those are the three PRs that you can't pay for that. Like I could give you millions and millions of dollars in marketing, and you could maybe try and bribe somebody to say that. But when somebody says that in an interview, that just sends shockwaves throughout the sport, and there needs to be a certain level of fan engagement. Um, and that's for the wrestling community to figure out. Like, I have no idea where to even start or where to go on that, right? That's for you guys to figure out. You understand your sport the best, and it certainly has to be something that athletes are more comfortable with. And like I said, like if you go back, like if I pull up a clip from, let's say, let's give it a go here. Let's see what I can come up with here on the fly. Like I said, very little prep, story of my life. Yeah. So if you go back to 94, when that happened, you can see the crowd be much more tampered. It's more of like a theater.
Well, if you go down the nights,
really,
you probably see higher scores there.
Nobody's really dancing. It's just kind of people are kind of sitting there staring and just watching. 60. And these were kind of the ideas, right, that the PDC has put in place. Make it more engaging. Make it so that maybe even if you're not the biggest fan of darts and you're not there staring and watching at the darts every second, you can find something to do. You'll enjoy yourself. You'll have a good time because guess what? These people spent good money. And even when you go to a wrestling match, you spend good money. It's not like, tickets are free. You spend good money to go. You spend disposable income to go watch people wrestle. Right? This is the ultimate point I want to get to today. I know I've only been on for about a half an hour, but this is the ultimate point. People spend good money to go to a wrestling. They want to feel welcome. They want to feel that the organizers of the event care about them. They didn't just throw some bleachers there. and said sit and watch wrestling. This is not how sports marketing works. This is what we've been doing in wrestling for far too long. It's not butts and seats, and now all I care about is the athletes. We cannot continue to do this anymore. We must come up with new and engaging ways to make sure that even if the wrestling isn't top notch or isn't great, or people aren't diehard wrestling fans, that they will want to come back to see another wrestling match again. That ultimately is the point. I thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. I know this is a little bit shorter because I really need to stop staring at two monitors here because it is killing my eyes. I've been doing this for far too long. I've been on a computer since 7:45 this morning, so I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. In the meantime, if you do, oh no, 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 let's not do that. That would not be good. Um, in the meantime, if you did enjoy, give me a second to switch things here. Lovely. Great. Okay. If you did enjoy that, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow my own personal Twitter, DSHI12, where you'll see plenty of wrestling and darts content, of course. It's certainly been a pleasure, and if you do enjoy it, I will be right back at it 2 days from now, talking about probably my favorite episode of all, Culture at Flow. I won't hold anything back. I really don't care. This has always been an opinion show, and I think it's better that people hear the truth other than me trying to be politically correct, let's just say. Other than that, that's all I've got for you today. It's certainly been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening or Tuesday evening, and we'll be right back at it here on a Thursday, same time, same place. In the meantime, follow the Instagram. It's at The Mental Takedown, not that difficult. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow the show's Twitter at Mental Takedown, and my own personal Twitter, DSHI12. It's been a pleasure. Have a good evening. Bye, y'all.